Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the Bizarro realm, where up is down and left is right. And Sean Strickland is the UFC middleweight champion of the world. Stu Whiffen, if that is your real name, I don't know what to believe anymore. What do we believe? How are you feeling, mate?
I said in the pre-show, right? Imagine this, Blake, right? Just picture this. Imagine there's a world where you wake up and Sean Strickland is the champ. It's happened.
It's absolutely mental. I mean, the funny thing is, I don't know if you can see this, but as I said this, if you're watching this on YouTube, I've got most of the blinds in front of me shut because it's too exposed. As I said, Sean Strickland's the middleweight champion of the world. The place darkened. Clouds came overhead. I'm sure a bolt of lightning is about to come out of the sky. It was mental. We're starting to brighten up a little bit again now, but I might have to sort these blinds out in a minute. But yeah, absolute madness. I still can't speak properly about it now. We're recording this on the Monday, so we've had, an entire day to sort of recover and sort of get our head around this. I'm going to have to sort these blinds out because it's gone dark. Sorry for everyone watching this on YouTube. But this is absolutely bananas. Stu, can you just talk me through your feelings? There's maybe specifically in round one when he dropped him. What was that like for you?
Do you know what? Like, I'm happy to say that I'm not a big Sean Strickland fan. He's not my type of person. That he said a lot of stuff that I don't agree with.
Can we mention what someone said on the comments?
Yeah, we've lost.
I think it's funny.
Yeah, I mean the people that don't seem to like us kind of not being fans of Strickland and the fact that there's a lot of elements of the sort of MMA community that like that, and I guess this podcast probably isn't really aimed at those people, is it? And
well, no, basically what they've said is you've lost a fan. You lost a fan because you said you didn't like what Strickland said. Oh, I'm so sorry that I don't like misogyny and homophobia and racism. I'm really sorry I don't like those things. But yeah, no, I don't. So don't be a fan. I couldn't care less.
Do you know what, though? Yeah. When he dropped his heat, right, in answer to your question, when he dropped his heat, I had a bolt of excitement of like, holy shit, this could be his one chance. This is his moment. Yeah. He's seized that moment. He's dropped the champ.
He must have been listening to Martine McCutcheon just before coming out. That was his moment. That was his perfect moment.
That was his moment. And in fairness,
I was going to sing it and then I decided not to, but you just went with it. And I love it.
Mate, I'll step up. And in fairness, he looked like he was going for it, didn't he? He was smashing him. And it was like, oh my God. And I think another 10 seconds and that, the round of finish, that would have been it.
Well, I don't know. I felt like he sort of got himself out of it and gave the thumbs up to Goddard and all that stuff. But I leapt out of my seat. I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was madness. But I mean, aside from that, do you know what? Before I get into this, let's take it back to the walkouts. Mm-hmm. Because the walkouts went kind of how I thought the fight was going to go in a sense. It was like, when you watch Sean Strickland walk out, to me, he looked like a rabbit in the headlights. He took his shirt off well before he got to the guy that they would normally do that. And I was like, oh, he's getting this over and done with. He's going to go in there. He's not going to wrestle him. He's going to try and kickbox him. He's going to get knocked out in 2 rounds. And he knows it. He knows it, which is why he's trying to just get past this so quickly. And I do feel like he still might have actually gone in there with Matt mentality. I don't know. Adesanya comes down. He's just dancing and, singing along to his song and all that stuff. It seems like just the epitome of confidence and composure. And then even when the Izzy doesn't touch gloves because Sean Strickland's been having a go at him and his dog, which I don't fully understand this, but Did Israel Adesanya do something to his dog's penis?
All
I
I
don't
keep
really
seeing.
know.
Oh,
Something happened, and
that
I
was
don't
another
know
one
what
of
it
the
is.
comments. That was another one of the comments about us not being fans of Sean Strickland. Someone said something along the lines of, "Well, I'm sure it was along the lines of like, is he wanking off his dog or something like that?" I don't know.
Well, yeah.
I don't sort of spend time in places where videos like that get passed about.
No, me
I don't really
neither.
want to
And
see that.
we can't be on top of every single thing that every fighter does. We're now a little bit aware of it. I haven't seen the video. I don't want to see the video, so please don't tag me in it. If that is sort of true, if he's done something like that, that's obviously kind of gross, and I don't like that. But yeah, I'm not gonna say because of that. Oh yeah, no, what Sean Strickland says is fine, and I'll get on to some of what Sean Strickland said in his post-fight interview because some of it I think is kind of quite deep and maybe meaningful and potentially inspiring to some people as well. Like that, you can't just say that one person is one thing. You know, we are human beings. We are complex. There is loads of different facets to us, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he has said some really bad things in the past, and I'm not a fan of it. I don't want my son to grow up looking at Sean Strickland and thinking I should talk to and about women in the way that he does. And the same thing with some of the homophobic comments. I wouldn't want my son to grow up thinking in a homophobic way. If my son was gay, great. I don't care. That's fine with me. I just the what I wouldn't want is for him to see stuff, the hatred that someone like Sean Strickland puts out there at times, and he's not the only one. There's a lot of fun. I mean, Jesus, on this card, we will get on to some of the language that was used.
A lot of F-bombs thrown around that.
And we ain't talking about fuck. So we'll get onto all that. Let's focus on the fight itself. I'll tell you the other thing that Izzy did just before he walked in the cage. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this. He hammer fisted himself in the dick. Did anyone see? Am I the only one that saw this? You know when like the guy's like checking your mouth guard, checking your arms, whatever, and then he tells you to check your cup. Izzy, like, rather than just like tapping his cup, he like hammer fisted himself right on the cup. And I was like, well, maybe that's why you lost, mate. Maybe you've done yourself some serious damage. Apparently, he went up to Dana White after the fight, and Dana was like, "Are you all right?" Because obviously it wasn't as typical as Adesanya performance, I guess. And Adesanya was like, I'll speak to you later. I'll talk to you later. Maybe he's going to turn around to Dana in private and said, look, mate, before getting in the cage, I hammer fisted myself in the cup really hard and it twisted up some testicles down there. And I couldn't get myself back on track.
Well, let's talk about, like, I think we can all admit, right, that the way that Sean Strickland approached that fight round by round was the best possible way to have done it. And I don't
even know if I agree with that, but carry on.
Right. Are we in agreement that Izzy didn't really turn up?
I think that's possible. I don't know for sure, because I think Izzy in leading up to the fight was properly like dialed in. He was in it. I didn't see anything from Izzy like what you saw from, say, Luke Rockhold before he fought Bisping. Luke Rockhold, before he fought Bisping in their second fight, looked arrogant, looked like he was dismissing Bisping. He couldn't care less. Izzy, I think he knew he was a better fighter, or thought he was, but I didn't feel like he was taking him lightly in the build-up to the fight. I don't know. But anyway, carry on with your point.
So I think by the sort of middle to the end of the second round, I was just watching like this pattern just form, and it was pretty brilliant because at no point really did Izzy get the center of the octagon. Strickland had him moving constantly, and it weren't just like a little switch, it was big movement constantly. And Sean Strickland didn't. Small steps, just moving around, chasing him down. And I just thought, damn, half hard to sustain. And when you're getting out of that and there's someone throwing shots and you're throwing as you're moving backwards, that's not, and we know that Izzy's a good counter striker. we didn't see that. We didn't see that. And what we did see when he landed strikes didn't seem to bother Sean Strickland. You could see that his confidence was growing. It looked like the
Yeah.
kicks weren't really doing what they should have been doing. Um, I think by the third round, I was thinking, I don't think he's going to pull it out the bag here. I think Sean Strickland could be running away with this. And I didn't have that thing that, like when you watch Pereira, where you just think, yeah, whatever. In a minute, he's going to knock you out. And you've always got that thing that, well, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I didn't get that. And I was just thinking, this could be insane. Because Sean Strickland was never going to gas. We know that about him.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking that his fight style at the moment, the way he's just little steps, walking him down, keeping him against that cage, this is problematic for Izzy, because he's got to keep moving. Otherwise, he's got to stand and strike. And he didn't seem to massively want to do that. He'd throw, then off he was gone. And then Strickland, 2 steps to the left, he's got him again. And it's like, it must be exhausting to move at that rate. But the way that Izzy was moving, just circling. Never once at the centre of the octagon. It was. I don't want to say too many positive things about Sean Strickland, but I thought he fought the perfect fight. But I do think it was, and I think he said afterwards, he felt like he was fighting an amateur at times or something along those lines. And if you was to tell somebody that watched that fight that had never watched UFC, that Adesanya guy, he's one of the greats, I don't think many people would go, really? Because he didn't look great. I didn't even think he looked good. I thought he just looked like he was doing what he could to try and not get pinned against that cage. I mean, if he could strike, he was striking. But I think after 2 or 3 rounds, maybe you're thinking, it's not looking like I'm going to knock this guy out. And it must have been such a massive thing for him walking back to his corner after that first round, just thinking, fuck, just been dropped and nearly finished by Sean Strickland. This is not what was on the menu for tonight. How did you see it, dude?
Well, Strickland was just so defensively sound. He's got such a strange fight style, isn't he? Like his training is all just sparring, it seems like. He spars heavy all the time. And he seems to just be able to read opponents, I suppose, quite well defensively. Like he does a slight kind of like, I don't know if I'd want to call it a Philly shell or not, but that leg is constantly coming up to protect himself. It's almost like when Izzy was fainting a lot more
in the Philly style, definitely.
Yeah, but when Izzy was fainting a lot more in the first round before he nearly got knocked out, any feints drew a massive reaction out of Strickland. He was constantly moving his hands. His leg was coming up to protect the kicks, even when the kicks weren't really coming. And but that's sort of his style. It looks kind of jerky, almost that it looks nervous. I'm not saying he is nervous. I'm saying when you look at the body language of his fight style, it almost looks nervous because his hands are constantly twitching and moving. And it doesn't look like he's twitching and moving in an offensive way where he's trying to feint his opponent. He's doing it in a way where he's almost like, where's the shot coming? Where's the shot coming? I'm going to block it. I'm going to block it. And he's always lifting that leg. Now, sometimes he was lifting it to throw the kind of front kick to the body, which was a really good way of keeping Izzy back against the cage and moving him backwards and giving Izzy something else to worry about. But there wasn't I don't remember any kind of big high kicks or even a lot of low kicks coming from Strickland. It was always that front kick and protecting yourself with kind of lifting your leg to check a potential kick coming from Izzy. It's just such a strange style. I do think in hindsight, I mean, and to be fair, I thought this before the fight. I thought Izzy would come forward a bit more. I thought Izzy would not respect his power at all. And I don't get me wrong. Obviously, after the first round, he had to respect his power a lot more. That was quite shocking for him, I think. But I thought he would come forward a lot more. And I thought he would be in the pocket with him, kind of anticipating that he'd have more power than Strickland. And I think he does. I think he does have more power than Strickland. Strickland's even said himself in the post-fight press conference that he does not hit that hard. And I also thought he would be comfortable with being able to implement his range more than Strickland's range, being the longer fighter and being the technical fighter that he is. And I thought he would have the speed advantage as well. So I thought being in the pocket with Strickland would kind of work. And as long as he was maintaining his range rather than Strickland's range a little bit more. But I kind of felt like, as you said, he was skirting around the outside as if he was fighting Alex Pereira.
Mm.
It was the Alex Pereira game plan. It was let him back me up, let him back me up, let him back me up, and I'll keep moving and shifting around until I maybe find something. And he couldn't find anything.
That's the thing. All of them things that you just said about Izzy, like they're all the things that we'd expect from him, because that's what we've seen previously. Yes, I don't want to hate on Izzy now, but we did mention in the previous show he's been in a lot of quite boring fights, and and this had this wasn't the most exciting fight. It was. I think so much of this fight was based around not the excitement, or the anticipation of, we're about to see something really shocking here. We're seeing a very average-looking Israel getting beaten by Sean Strickland, and I think, all of those things that you said that we expect, we didn't see, and so that's why I'm curious to hear if there's anything major. I hope there was nothing majorly wrong with him, or something has happened in his personal life. No one wants to hear stuff like that. But maybe there is, and maybe it'll come out in the wash. But basing this episode today on who turned up and what we saw, I think we saw a very average Israel, and I think we saw a Sean Strickland that couldn't believe his luck.
Well, are we seeing an Israel that is just a bit tired because he's an incredibly active fighter? Does he need a little bit of time off? Or are we seeing an Israel Adesanya that at like 33, 34, whatever he might be now, is now on the decline? Are we seeing an Adesanya that has an awful lot of combat sports experience, like mileage on the clock type thing? Obviously his kickboxing career predominantly, where you're very, very active, and now his MMA career as well. Could we be seeing Izzy on the decline? I don't feel like that, because I feel like he was winning that first Alex Pereira fight until he just got hit with a big shot, which just happens. And then he won the second fight, and now this just feels like an anomaly. I don't know what this was that we just watched. Maybe Sean Strickland just has a style that we'll find out that is a kind of kryptonite to Adesanya. I don't think so. I think it must have been a bit of an off night. What you think this style, like, because here's the thing, we're gonna have to get onto what's next.
If he comes out, fighter and says, "Look, I've just had a bad night. There was no injury. There was no, trauma or anything." Then I think it was a bad stylistic matchup. And I don't think
he's going to come out and say anything, because I don't think he's that guy. I don't think he's going to come out with excuses. I think if he rematches Strickland and wins, then he might say, in the first fight, this happened. But I don't think you're going to hear much from him before then.
Let's talk that, because we mentioned this in the pre-fight show. He presumes he gets the rematch, but then does he? Because he's only defended it. He's only just won it. And that was his first defense, Strickland, wasn't it?
Say that again.
So he's only, because obviously he lost the belt.
Yeah. Adesanya's first defense.
Yeah. This is what I'm saying. So why would he get an automatic rematch then? Because he's not. Well,
Dana said he wants him to have an automatic rematch. Dana came out with that. I'm with you. But I mean, all right. As a fan, me personally, I don't think you should get an automatic rematch, because I like to reserve it to, if you've had 3 title defenses, boom, automatic rematch, I'm fine with it. But if you, in this case, this is his first title defense after losing the belt already, I don't want to see him get an automatic rematch. I don't think he'd have to do a long journey back to the title. I think he could just win one fight and that's it.
Well,
back to the title after that. Because we'll get to that. But I just think that the problem is Israel Adesanya is on a huge contract. He is the highest paid star in the UFC outside of Conor McGregor. They are not going to put him in a three-round fight, on a pay-per-view. They are not going to stick him as a fight night headliner wherever, where audiences are getting Izzy for free. That he is a pay-per-view star. So they want him in the big fights. Like that's what they want as a business. It makes business sense to sell pay-per-views off of Israel Adesanya so that his wages that he's commanding is, financially viable for the company. That's what makes sense for them as a business. So I understand why Dana's saying what he's saying and why they're going to do what they're doing. But do I think he deserves an automatic rematch? No. I think what would be maybe more fun is, because I don't need to see this fight again. I don't care whether it was an off night for Izzy, and I don't care if Strickland is the kryptonite to Izzy, or if Izzy would come back and smash him. I don't care. This is a moment in time that I'm like, wow, this was mental. I'm enjoying the craziness of this moment. I don't need to see it again. I don't need history to be corrected, and I don't need Strickland to go and do it again. I'm more than happy to see Strickland go and fight Dricus, or Strickland go and fight Hamzat if he beats Costa, and then Izzy comes back and fights the winner of Strickland versus whichever one those would be. And it doesn't have to be Strickland. I don't care about the Strickland Adesanya rematch. I do think it's what the UFC needs as a company is to have Israel Adesanya fighting for the belt. But I'm hoping it might be a little bit down the line where either Strickland has beaten someone else in a title defense, which makes him like an even more legitimate champion. It's not just this crazy once in a lifetime moment that happened. He's actually defended the belt as well. Or someone beats him for the belt, whether it be Hamzat, Dricus, whoever.
If you're Dricus, I think, is this a good thing or a bad thing, what's just happened? Because
bad.
It is, isn't it? Because the big money fight was Izzy, wasn't it? And if you're Dricus, I guess financially there's money in fighting Izzy, but why would you fight Israel Adesanya for for money when you could potentially fight and have a very, very good chance of beating Sean Strickland and maybe getting, not based on what we've just seen this weekend, get an easier road to becoming the champ? But do you think that they're not going to give Dricus that shot? Do you think they don't think he's a Dricus versus Sean Strickland? Is that a big enough fight? I don't know. Hamzat Chimaev.
I think that's versus, a no.
Yeah, Hamzat, he's going to beat Costa, I'm sure. And
I think
I don't know anymore. I don't know anymore, though.
No. God, none of us know anything anymore. I mean, what the fuck? Like, the thing is, there's not a pundit in the world that was telling you legitimately Sean Strickland has the tools to beat Israel Adesanya. I think he's going to do it, and here's how he's going to do it. Even his own coach, Eric Nixick, was like, yeah, this is a really bad stylistic matchup for us. Like, this is mental. This is absolutely mad. But I think you've hit the nail on the head with, I don't think Dricus versus Sean Strickland is selling pay-per-views. I just don't think it is. I think Strickland is an interesting guy, I guess, if that's how you want to say it. He has a fan base for sure. People will see him in a bigger way now that he's the champion, but he's not a pay-per-view star as far as I'm concerned. Dricus du Plessis is not a pay-per-view star. You need to have someone that is a pay-per-view star in that fight with Strickland to sort of carry the load of a pay-per-view if Strickland's main event in a pay-per-view. That's why the Adesanya fight worked enough. They sold out that arena before a main event was even booked because they knew Adesanya was going to be on that card. Adesanya did all the heavy lifting. When it comes to Hamzat, he's a huge star, but we just haven't seen him for so long. Now, if Hamzat is able to ragdoll Costa and beat him in a round or two and absolutely smash him up in the way that he has done to other fighters, then Hamzat has got such a fan base. He's so popular on the social media channels. Hamzat's a big deal. He's gone off the boil a little bit because he's just not been present in our lives. His last fight was like a year ago, it feels like, or whatever it was. And he's not been kind of in the news as much. So, Hamzat's definitely gone off the boil. But one big win over Costa, he grabs that mic and says, look, I'm ready. He says, I'm going to eat everyone in the division and all that stuff. And I'm going to take out Sean Strickland. He's next. And like, whatever it is, Dana will book that fight and he'll book it over Dricus because Dricus is just not the star that Hamzat is. But it's also dependent on when Adesanya wants to come back. If Adesanya wants to take time off, then I think they do the Hamzat fight if Hamzat beats Dricus. Here's the other thing. This just kind of popped into my head.
I've got a fight I want to throw in there as well.
Well, can I just say this? Just hypothetically, let's say that Paulo Costa beats Hamzat. Say he knocks him out. Does Costa leap over Dricus? Because I think Costa's a bigger star than Dricus.
Absolutely.
Because the Dricus thing is linked to Adesanya, right?
That's
the reason everyone wants to see Dricus is because the beef with Adesanya. Now, Dricus, as far as I'm concerned, is the number one contender. You can't beat Robert Whittaker and then not fight for the belt next. That is crazy. But this is not a meritocracy. This is a business. And I do think that Paulo Costa might sell more pay-per-views against Strickland than what Dricus would. Against Adesanya, completely different story. But I think Costa is potentially got the chance to leap over Dricus as well. What were you going to say?
He's looking hench. He's this.
Who, Costa?
No, Conor McGregor. He's this potentially his best chance of winning a belt. Could he say, I want this fight? He's gone on socials and said he wants it. He said he'll have it. Like, I don't know. He says he'll have every fight. He'll be calling out the winner of Fury and Garner. But
didn't he call out Volk yesterday or the other day as well?
Probably, yeah.
He called out Volk. It was like the featherweight goats.
But could he? I mean, I think he could beat Sean Strickland. Like,
I don't.
Is this
I
the
don't.
easiest chance?
Size? No, it's not. No, it's not.
You
it's
think
not.
Michael Chandler would be an easier fight?
Yes. No, Michael Chandler's a much easier fight than Sean Strickland for him.
No chance.
Yeah.
Wrestling?
No, I think so.
Chance.
Yeah, but is Chandler going to wrestle though? Chandler probably won't wrestle. He'll just go and throw big frigging bungalows at his face. He's, that's not his thing. Sean Strickland, I think, spars a lot. His defensive cardio for days. He's not like someone that gets knocked out that easy. I mean, Alex Pereira, that guy has like nuclear bombs in his hands. Like that's not a regular punch. What Alex Pereira landed on him. So I don't. Yeah, and I think size matters, man. You can't what to 185. No, I don't know. I think that's ludicrous. I'm not into that.
I mean, this whole podcast is fucking ludicrous, Blake. Like
this whole sport is ludicrous.
Off the table
the
now,
sport
mate.
was mad. What's happened? Sean Strickland is the middleweight champion of the world. He beat one of the best ever in Israel Adesanya his own game. He outpointed him. No, do you know what it was? That's absolutely mad. He outpointed him.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a flash knockout. It wasn't like, I've jumped on his back and got a submission out of nowhere. He didn't wrestle him, which is what everyone thinks you should do. And Eric Nixick said our plan was to wrestle, like with every time he fights a striker or whatever. Because apparently Sean Strickland's a good wrestler. He just never uses it. He outpointed him. And then...
comfortably.
Not just that. Do you know what's really telling and is a question over Adesanya? The last 15, 20 seconds of that fight, whatever it was, Sean Strickland was hunting him down and shouting in his face. Adesanya went out into that fifth round. He must have known he was down on the scorecards. He must have known. There's no way Adesanya went out there and thought, if I win this round, then I'll win the whole fight. Judging happens. It might have happened. But no. He knew he needed a finish, I think. And with 20 seconds to go, he didn't go looking for one. What does that say? That means he gave his belt to Strickland. That maybe sounds harsh, and it maybe sounds maybe even unfair on Strickland. But like Strickland didn't have to rip that belt from his cold, dead hands. He gave it to him. He gave him the belt.
Yeah.
Because with 20 seconds to go, Sean Strickland is going, come on, hit me, fight me, and all this stuff. And Adesanya's just backing away. And I'm like, look, I don't know what it's like to be in there with someone like that. I'd probably be jumping over the cage and legging it out of the arena if I was in a cage, someone like that. But he's an elite level guy. You've had Pereira hunting you down for all those rounds, and you stuck in there, and you were like, what happened where you just went, yeah, I've just not got it today, man. I've not got it. You take that belt. Enjoy that belt. You take it.
It felt like that in that last round, and more so. Like I thought he was going to come out and just think, I've got to finish him. And I don't think he thought he could finish him at that point. I think he just thought, I don't know what I've got here, because we didn't see the style bender. We saw a very muted Israel Adesanya, it was just bizarre. And as I said earlier, as the fight sort of got going and kept going, I was thinking, oh my God, we're watching Sean Strickland beat Israel Adesanya. But this is unreal. And like you say, that fifth round, if that was Pereira going out there, you'd think, right, he's now going to start him. He's going to gun for it, and he's going to go down on his shield, and he's going to try and knock him out. No one was going down on any shield in that fifth round. He just looked like he was like, no, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing and backing off, moving around. I don't know. For me, I don't want to sort of throw, too much boxing in this, but like, if I look at Ricky Hatton as a fighter, he lost to Manny Pacquiao and he lost to Floyd Mayweather. Both times he went in and he just went down on his shield. He went out, and that's what makes fighters champions and what makes the public love them, that they just leave it all in that ring. And we didn't see that from Adesanya. It was like, come on, mate. Like, this is in Sydney. That whole crowd, they're all there for you. And it was
well, they weren't though, were they?
No, they weren't.
They were quite favourable to Strickland, even in the days leading up to the fight. Well, I mean, Izzy's obviously from New Zealand. There is probably a slight rivalry there.
I know.
And Izzy took the belt off Whittaker, who's, the guy in Australia. I don't know, man.
I mean, let's talk Whittaker. Where does he sit in this?
Well, this is great for him, because obviously the loss to Dricus has messed it up massively. If he beat Dricus, he's now getting a title shot, which I don't know whether or not he would have got that, been like, oh, well, let's go 3 fights with Adesanya. But now that the belt has changed hands, Whittaker's in there. My worry about Whittaker is he didn't look himself in the Dricus fight. So is he all right? Is what's going on there? But this is a massive thing for Whittaker. Whittaker just needs to get one win now, and he's in the conversation for sure. The problem is, this couldn't have happened at a worse time, because middleweight has been desperate for contenders for what feels like years now, because Adesanya has really cleaned out that division. That's why like a 6th ranked Sean Strickland got his title opportunity, because the number 1 guy couldn't do it on such short notice. And Whittaker he beat twice, Brunson he's beat, Costa he's beat, Vettori twice, Cannonier, like all the guys high up. Izzy's already beaten them. And now finally we're like, oh my God, Dricus has beat Whittaker. He's the number 1 guy. We've finally got a genuine contender. And Hamzat's just a month away. What?
Hamzat's moved to middleweight.
And that's it, yeah. And then Hamzat is a month away from having his fight. That would be huge if he beats Costa. So we've got Dricus and Hands Up lined up, right, ready and waiting to go. Obviously, caveat, Hamzat has to beat Costa, but we're expecting him to. And now we've finally got some exciting fights for Izzy that we're like, Jesus, I can't wait to tune in for Izzy versus Dricus. I would be well into Izzy versus Hamzat Chimaev. And now, just when it was all getting exciting, this craziness happens. I mean, before we've spoken about this fight for nearly 35 minutes or whatever the hell it's been. And rightfully so, because it is shocking.
Is it the biggest upset? Is it bigger
That's
than
what I was about to
Sarah
ask.
GSP? Is it bigger than? For me, I'm always going Holly Ronda. That's the one for me that's done me. I could
It's
not
bigger than
believe
Holly
it.
and Ronda. It's bigger than Holly and Ronda, I think, because Holly had all the
No one have beaten Ronda.
accolades with
Izzy's been
the
beaten.
boxing and with the but not like that and by anyone like that. And
No, I disagree. Izzy's had
I
boring
think
fights.
Izzy's one of the all-time greats. He's
Izzy's
had
had
boring
boring
fights, but
fights.
but he's beat them easy.
But
He's beat them
Ronda,
easy.
not as
Most
easy as
boring.
Ronda beat everyone so quickly. Looked like no one was ever going to get near her. Like first rounded most fighters.
I
Like
just don't remember it being that. I don't remember. I remember being shocked. It's up there. I'm not saying it's not up there, but I think this is more shocking because I think in the lead up to the Ronda versus home fight, you're thinking to yourself, Ronda's obviously got to grab her and take her down, which she didn't do. She decided to try and kickbox a boxing and kickboxing world champion, which was just a bad game plan. That was a Sean Strickland-esque game plan that didn't work. And Holly, if it was staying on the feet, always had a really good chance. Strickland, no one thought he could take him down. No one thought that he could outpower him and land that one knockout shot. No one thought he would outpoint Israel Adesanya. There was nothing in this whole build up to this fight where you went, that's how they win. Like, to me, Sarah versus GSP, I'm aware of it, but I wasn't as into the sport then as I am now. So I don't have the emotional connection to it. All I can say is Sarah came off like an Ultimate Fighter where the winner got the chance to fight GSP. He was a BJJ guy. So for him to get the knockout win over a guy that is seen as one of the best, if not the best to ever do it, that's huge. Like, you might be able to talk more about the kind of the actual moment because I wasn't as into it. But for me, I go to Nunes Pena one because I just think Nunes was and still is, I think, the greatest female fighter of all time.
mm-hmm.
She has dominated everyone in 2 weight classes, not 1, but 2 weight classes.
Yeah.
And she got absolutely smashed.
Yeah.
Like she kind of got choked out, but gave up. Like she won that first round. Something happened in that second round where Pena was just in her face, boxing, taking lumps, giving lumps. And then just the fight went to the ground and she took her back and Nunes was like, I can't do it. Tap, tap, tap. Like that to me was the biggest. Because again, everyone going into that fight was just like a bit like this. Was sort of mocking the idea of Pena winning. Yeah, I don't know. This is right up there, man. This is right up there. This is top 5, if not top 3, maybe top 2. But it is up there as one of the greatest upsets of all time. And it's the manner in which he did it, man. Like the GSP thing, you're like, Sarah caught him with like this flash kind of like knockdown moment. Like this shit happens in MMA. 4-ounce gloves. Anyone can crack anyone at that level, even if it's the number 1 guy against the number 50 guy. If something just goes slightly wrong, you're talking nanoseconds, millimeters, someone can always land that devastating punch. But this, he showed class and outpointed him to the point where he sort of mentally broke him, to the point where Israel Adesanya could not even give him any offense when he knew the belt was lost. He didn't give him any last-ditch offense when Sean Strickland had his hands down and was screaming in his face. This huge. It's so huge. I'm still baffled. I'm still so baffled by the whole thing.
Well, look, Volkov is huge. And let's use that tenuous link to move away from the madness, just because I'm just aware of a time and we've not even got past it, which is to be expected because it was such madness. But obviously there was a co-main in there, which was Taito Vasa versus Volkov. Again, very quickly we saw a bad matchup for Tai Tuivasa
Yeah.
there. I think Volkov, who's looking better and better.
He
And
looked fantastic, didn't
yeah,
he?
yeah.
Those combos and finishing with kicks to the body, just like, oh,
Well,
looking
I think he
nasty.
must have looked at Ty's last fight and thought, well, I'm going to definitely go
Yeah.
for some of them body kicks because there's a weakness there. It's disappointing because obviously Ty, the fans love him, and obviously fighting in Australia, you could see he was well up for it. But I don't know. He said he'd been doing weights and he'd been really sort of trying to build his strength up, and I'll definitely say what I liked about Ty is he does move really fast on his feet. He does make that distance up, and he will
Yeah.
throw himself in the firing line. He will eat one to get one off as well, and that's why obviously fans love him. But you're fighting a very big man in Volkov, and
Yeah.
I just think he had his number,
Yeah.
and it was quite easy work for him, I think. And
I mean, I felt like Ty was coming back into it in the second
yeah,
round, was really chopping up his leg. Ty throws really underrated leg kicks. They're really good leg kicks, especially for a man of his size. But then Volkov caught one, put him on the ground, and that was it. I think we're just starting to see, Ty lacks skills in certain areas that I don't think he'll ever truly make up, like the ground game. And like, I mean, Volkov is a massive guy. He didn't have, he's athletic, Ty, surprisingly athletic, but he doesn't have the footwork on the feet to really be able to close the distance in a safe way. He seems to be on the end of Volkov's jab all the time until he just sort of muscles through it and is able to
it's a
try and
great
land
jab,
something.
though. It's a really good jab, Volkov.
Yeah, but I don't feel like Ty is one of these guys that if you're going to brawl with him, he's so durable and he hits so hard that he'll probably win more often than not, unless your name's like Sergey Pavlovich. But he didn't have the skills to make up for his physical disadvantages over Volkov. Volkov's long legs, that long jab, the fact that he was that taller and Ty had to get his hand up higher to try and hit him in the chin, like that Ty just didn't have the skill set to be able to navigate that. And that I feel like was his downfall. And then obviously the lack of proficiency on the ground. I do think his ground game is getting better, but Volkov is not a Tommy Aspinall, a Jalton Almeida, a Curtis Blades, a John Jones. So if Volkov's getting you down and keeping you down, you've got a long way to go before you can truly get to the upper echelons of that division and plant your flag there and stay there for a while. Ezekiel choke as well. I think it's only the second ever Ezekiel choke in the UFC. I think Alexei Oleinik might have the first one. So, I mean, that again, I don't know whether that's to say the growth in Volkov or if it's to say a lack of proficiency in Ty. Maybe it's a little bit of both. I don't know. But we love Ty. Ty's stock doesn't drop though. Ty's, as you said, Ty's such a fan favorite that his next fight, doesn't matter who it's against, everyone's up for it. We all want to see Ty. We want to see him walk to the ring with a funny song, which I didn't actually notice what his song
No, I
was,
didn't
to
know
be
what
fair.
that was this time.
No. But he walks to the ring with an interesting song. He stands and bangs. He wants to go out on his shield or take you out. And if he wins, he's jumping on the cage and doing a shoey. He's a fun guy. We love Tai Tuivasa. And as I say, stock hasn't dropped. It doesn't matter who he fights. People will want to watch him fight.
Well, look,
Cap versus Dos Santos was the fight of the night. Do you want to talk about that?
I thought it was a fantastic fight.
Yeah.
I thought Dos
Round one
Santos,
was incredible.
Yeah, I thought Dos Santos making his UFC debut, against top 10, right, Manuel?
Yeah, Cap's top 10. Yeah, and 23 years of age, Dos Santos.
And do you know what? Just looked fantastic. Dana White is going to be all over him. I don't see him going anywhere right now. I think that's a firm addition to the division of the UFC because he's so skilled. At some insane shots. Manel Cates boxing was crisp. And as you know,
Yeah.
if we sort of look a little bit to what we said about, it just felt like, for me, like Dos Santos would throw like sort of 4 or 5 shots that wouldn't necessarily do too much damage. Cape would throw one, and it just looked like it was faster and harder, and was doing
Yeah.
more damage. You know, his boxing was spectacular, but as a fight, the whole you know, all 3 rounds blew my socks off. It was so exciting. I think we're going to see real big things from Dos Santos. Like to make your debut, you know, that high up on a card, and to put in that sort of performance. You know, Dana White, like the people that you see, they love fighters like that just seize the opportunity and just go for it. And you know, obviously he didn't get the win, but I think we're looking at a future star there. And okay, I mean, obviously, you know, he wants Carl France. I don't know if he want. Did he call him out at the end? I couldn't really hear. They were bleeping out so many of the
Oh,
interviews.
and they had to,
Yeah.
because
Was that when
Cape
he
was
said
one of
the
the
F-bomb?
Yes, and by the way, guys, when we're saying F-bomb, we're talking
The
about a homophobic
homophobic
slur,
slur. Yeah.
not just, fuck. So
Like.
sorry, bleep me out. But yeah, this was it was such a shame, because I I was becoming a big Manel Cap fan. I was like, I knew he was big in Ryzen, and he came into UFC, had a couple of issues, didn't win his first 2, I don't think, but then has gone on like a 4-fight win streak or something like that, and has looked good. And I was like, okay, Cap's going, Cape. I can't remember which one it is, but this guy's coming on strong. He's doing well, and in the lead up to the fight, he's there having a go at Israel Adesanya, and he's like having a go at Kai Kara France, and I'm here for it. I'm like, yes, let's get this going. Let's make some of this more interesting. He felt like the star of the press conference to me, the way he was kind of like literally half the size of Israel Adesanya, and it's like, who the fuck are you? What the middleweight champion of the world, who's been one of the best for a really long time. You're asking him who he is. Okay, yeah. Sure, mate.
That was the most viral clip. It was the most viral clip.
And it was funny. It was interesting. The beef he's having with Kai, it spills over to all the city kickboxing guys. Like, I'm loving it. I'm all here for it. Then he goes in there and has a fight of the night against the guy that's making his debut and against the guy that's only 23. You can only give credit to Dos Santos. What a phenomenal talent he looks like he could be. That shooter box style from Brazil, the Charles Oliveira-esque, I'm just going to go forward into this and I'm going to take one to give one. We didn't see much of his ground game. I think Cap probably was aware that maybe it's not a game to play when you're dealing with some of those guys. But yeah, phenomenal fight. And then he gets to the post-fight chat. And he starts it off with all the, having a go at Kai Kara France. But I think he paid respect to Dos Santos. And I'm like, do you know what? This is great. The crowd's booing him and he's kind of giving it some and all that. I'm like, this guy's doing it. That's the
pantomime we're used to and we like.
That's the pantomime we want. That is, make us interested in your fights. Make us interested. Either we want to see you succeed or we don't want to see you succeed. Whatever. Make us interested. And then he called all the city kickboxing guys into your homophobic slur. And my heart just sank, man. I was like, oh, what a shame. What a shame. Because I was all on board. And then when you get a glimpse into someone that's like that, particularly in a sport where I think that kind of stuff is really just too prevalent and just not something we ever want to see. And it also is one of the things that gives fans of the sport a bad name. When you start talking to random people about, oh, I love MMA or I like watching the UFC, or some people you talk to, there's a little thing in their eyes is like, oh, what are you like then? If you like that sport where they say those things and do those things, what does that make you as a person? And I hate that. I get really frustrated by that. And yeah, I think there should be punishments for that kind of stuff. I don't think the UFC is going to give punishments for that kind of stuff, but there absolutely should be punishments for that kind of stuff. It's not free speech, it's hate speech. And so we just don't need it.
We don't need it. And, as we mentioned at the beginning of this podcast, it's certainly not, anything that this podcast is about. And I mean, Dana White, I see him talking about that at the press conference. And he was like, I can't tell these guys what to say, but the other guy that said it as well on the prelims.
I don't know his name, but he was on the Fight Pass prelims, I think, and he said it afterwards. Well, but at least he's apologized. I haven't seen anything from Cap apologizing. Maybe I'm wrong, but I haven't seen any apology from Cap. But the other guy at least sort of apologized, and
it makes it's so clickbaity when people post stuff like this, because obviously as much as like me and you will look at that and go, fuck that, that's everything this sport doesn't need. It's divisive in the MMA community, because you see there's a big divisive split in people that will go, they're just fighters, man. They're just lost. They're caught up in the moment. And it's like, no. People get caught up in the moment. And like, when you're on national television and someone puts a microphone in front of your mouth, just don't say dumb shit. Don't say stuff like that. You don't have to be, like, just because you're a fighter, that doesn't mean that you're allowed to be homophobic or misogynistic. Like, it doesn't. And it's so, it highlights just the things that I don't like about this sport.
Yeah.
And I, like an idiot, I look at the comments and I just think, fuck's sake, really? Like, and there's snowflake gets thrown around a hell of a lot. Woke culture.
That'll probably be on our YouTube comments next.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
And like, no, but it's like, come on, man. Like that, you're not being a snowflake if you just don't like homophobia being broadcast to the world. Like, that's
you're just empathetic towards other people, because there will be fighters on that roster, like Jeff Molina, who's no longer on the roster, was forced to come out as bisexual because someone released a video of him. Like, he's now the only guy sort of flying the flag because it was forced upon him to come out, which should never happen. There will be other fighters on that roster that are gay. Male 100%. Fighters again. We talk for some reason, like, people don't seem to comment as much negatively on any gay female fighters. I'm sure they do get it. Don't get me wrong, but we've seen Molly is a fantastic kind of ambassador. Amanda Nunes, the greatest female fighter of all time. Whereas there are no openly gay male fighters on that UFC roster.
It's so sad.
And the reason is because of the hate they're going to get. And I also think the reason is because when something like this happens, when two guys are using homophobic slurs in their UFC post-fight speech in the octagon, when the cameras are on them and millions of people are watching worldwide, the UFC don't really care enough to do anything about it. That's how I see it. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we see someone say they've been punished with this. They've been fined some of their fight purse, or they won't be getting a fight for 6-7 months because we want to keep them away or whatever. Like, however they do it, I don't know. But yeah, I just don't want to see it. And I think it's all right to show a bit of care and empathy to other people. And fun with the snowflake thing, just separately, that bothers me is I feel like the most snowflakey thing is to moan about people being snowflakes. Like, that's just like I'm so upset that you have empathy that I'm gonna get on my keyboard and call you a snowflake. I hate you so much, you snowflakes. What? Shut up. Call me Snowblake. I don't care.
Hey,
Snowblake. Snowblake is fine. That is absolutely fine. I'll take that all day. I couldn't care less. I'll just tell everyone you're talking about my beard.
Oh dear.
The old snowy beard down here.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you who hits like a truck and doesn't hit like a snowflake is Justin Tapper. Oh boy.
We nearly had another eye poke right at the beginning. I thought,
I know.
No way.
Nearly eye poke to begin. That was one of the most vicious ground and pounds I've ever seen. Like, it looked like he wanted to do a walk-off KO. And when he realized that Austin Lane was kind of still slightly with it, or the ref wasn't going to jump in, he sort of just knelt over him. And he didn't just like traditional ground and pound. His arms went so far back and to the side. He was just laying in hooks.
Yeah.
It was absolutely vicious.
Yeah.
It was brutal. It was lethal ground and pound. He could have punched him through the mat.
Yeah.
It was absolutely outrageous. The other thing about Justin Taffer, I think he's only 29. I'm going to have to double check this because the man looks 40.
Yeah.
Love you, Justin. Big fan. You look a lot older than what I think you actually are.
Just because he's got a 1980s dad's moustache. That's all it is.
That's it. It's the moustache. If he loses the moustache, he probably looks very, very young.
Yeah.
But,
absolutely.
But yeah, I feel like I look the same age as Justin Taffer, but he's like a good 10 years younger than me or whatever he is.
Yeah, I mean, he was looking for the Mark Hunt, wasn't he? He just was. You could tell
that's
that,
his hero.
Of course, that's his hero. Like, yeah, it's got to be in it. And it was interesting to hear them talk about it on the commentary because obviously there's been a hell of a lot of issues between Mark Hunt and Dana White and the UFC.
Yeah.
And so, I was quite happy that the team there did talk about him because you never hear that, like names like Randy Couture ever get sort of thrown about in the UFC commentary much anymore. And so it was nice.
I think it did that night, though.
No, Team Couture,
Someone
did say Team Couture.
The uppercut, and I swear they said Randy Couture.
Oh,
maybe
did they really?
I felt like they did, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm not going to bet my house on it or anything, but I think they did.
Yeah. What's with the property today? Because you've just said about betting your ass, and you said throwing bungalows earlier. I want to know. I got
profit. Sponsored by Rightmove. We're not sponsored by Rightmove. Just say
Who are we sponsored by?
I don't think anyone right now.
Sorry.
Is there a snowflake company that we can? Can we be sponsored by some kind of like?
We do a Christmas special.
Come on, we're gearing up to Christmas. Any kind of snowflake decorations? Oh, we'd be all over that. But yeah,
Snowflake
anyway.
Machine sponsored by Snowflake Harrison.
Oh, mate.
I'll tell you what, we're in partnership with. That's what I meant. Who are we in partnership with? We've got a lovely little partnership, a non-profit partnership with.
Yeah. What a snowflakey thing to do. Oh, you're not taking any money. You're doing it for charity. Oh, you bloody snowflakes.
Bloody left.
Anyway, I think Sean Strickland sent us mad. The result from last night is just, I'm so blown away. Nothing's right with the world. Anyway, we are partnered with GamCare, who are a fantastic charity and in all seriousness do brilliant work for anyone suffering with a gambling addiction. And even if you are friends or family member of someone with a gambling addiction, then they can help you. They have a 24/7 helpline. They have an instant messenger kind of like chat box thing. If you're not comfortable talking with someone on the phone, you can jump on the website and you can talk to them on the little chat box thing, and they can give you all the help you need. And also, what is really fantastic about them is they can get you counseling sessions for free, and they can do it very, very quickly to help you navigate your way through, the debt you might be in, any kind of relationship difficulties you're having with parents, siblings, loved ones, whatever it might be, because of your gambling addiction. They can really help you. And again, not just if you're the one suffering, but if you are a family member or friend of someone that's suffering, they can help you as well. They can offer you counseling. They can give you the 24/7 helpline, all of those things. Stu, I reckon you've got the website and the phone number.
Certainly have, mate. It's GamCare, GAMCARE.org.uk. That's GamCare.org.uk. Or call them for free on 0808 8020 133. 0808 802 0133. All of these details will be in the show notes of this episode. So go and click over wherever you get your podcasts, and it'll take you straight through to the website.
Right. Let's crack on with Tyson Pedro, because when you think of an absolutely lethal finish and celebration, you got to think of Tyson Pedro. Absolutely smashed the Pleasure Man, smashed Turkalj, and then gave it the old samurai sword across, and then sheathed his sword, bowed to him like a samurai. Absolutely. And the reason I loved it even more was because Anton Turkalj, in the post-fight press conference, was asked about his nickname, the Pleasure Man, and he said something to the effect of, "Oh, you can ask Tyson Pedro's wife," which, by the way, you're an idiot, Turkalj, because Tyson Pedro's wife, I believe, unless I'm getting this mistaken, it's the other way around. Is Taito Ivasa's sister?
Oh, fuck,
Or is Taito Ivasa with Tyson Pedro's sister? It's one or the other. But I think Tyson Pedro might be with Taito Ivasa's sister. So don't go saying stuff like that with Taito Ivasa's over there as well, mate. What are you talking about?
Jesus Christ, I did not know that. That's a family barbecue you wouldn't want to play up at, isn't it?
No, yeah, I bet you can have fun though. Those guys look like they're going to have a laugh. There's a few beers in that fridge. They are really going to enjoy themselves. I'd love to go to a barbecue at Ty's house. That'd be great fun. But yeah, man, it's yeah, stupid. So I really loved the celebration. I sometimes get a little bit like, oh, I don't like it when like I didn't mind Izzy doing the arrows, but I didn't like Izzy falling down in front of the sun, and there's other things where celebrations, I think, go a little bit too far or something. But with this one, I'm like, if you talk about a man's wife and then you get absolutely slept by him, he can do a celebration over your body. That is absolutely fine. So, yeah.
I guess the only other thing...
Anything else to talk about? Oh, there's a couple of little things we should talk about, actually.
I did want to say Kiefer Crosby made his UFC debut, Irish fighter, first on the card. I didn't actually see the fight. I've not seen the fight past prelims yet.
Me neither.
Obviously affiliated with SBG over in Ireland. His UFC debut. I mean, I guess he developed a big bit of profile when he done the exhibition fight against the Geordie Shore lad, Aaron Chalmers.
Aaron Chalmers.
And got the decision win over him. And you know, he's got a record of fighting in Bellator and Rise FC, and made his debut on Saturday against Kevin Jossette, and he unfortunately got choked out in the very first
Not been
round.
great for Irish fighters lately, is it?
No.
Like, other than Ian Gary, obviously, but you've had like Sean O'Bannon's debut didn't go well. Reece McKee, not debut, but return to the UFC, didn't go well. Yeah. Caelan Loughran didn't go well. And now Kiefer Crosby as well. So hopefully the Irish guys can you know, fix things up and get some wins under their belt soon. Carlos Solberg looked good, and it was one of those rare kind of referee had to double check the tape to get the tap. Did you see this?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. So Carlos Solberg looking really good. Not the kind of knockout finishes that we've been used to with Carlos Solberg, but he got 15 minutes, even though it should have ended slightly earlier than that. And he finished with a submission, and we got to the final bell. But then at a review of the tape, Herb Dean realised he missed a tap from Zhang, and it came about, I don't know, 11, 12 seconds before the bell or something like that. So he won. I think it was a rear naked choke, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. But he was on top of him, flattened him out, rear naked choke. So got that win. So Carlos Solberg showing even more strings to his bow. And getting the submission win, which I think is absolutely fantastic for him. Called out Dominic Reyes, which I don't know if I'm interested in seeing Dominic Reyes fight again. He just looks so chinny. I'm worried. What I'm worried about that man's brain. Call me a snowflake, but I'm worried about that man's mental health.
You want to be worried about Jack Jenkins' arm, mate. That's what you want to be worried about.
That was awful. That was mate. That was horrendous. If you haven't seen it, and I mean, if you don't like squeamish, arm breaky things, then please don't look there. But yeah, it was like a judo throw, wasn't it? And he sort of put his arm out to try and brace himself, and it just snapped under him. Yeah, it was a bad one. I wish him a healthy, speedy recovery, because that was a nasty one.
Anything else you want to talk about? Malarkey obviously got a win over McDessie. It was an all right fight, 3-rounder. Nothing, no real big fireworks there. Obviously, it was good to see Malarkey get a win in Australia. He seemed very happy with that.
I could just talk more about Sean Strickland's win, to be honest, and how surprising it was. I could talk about that all day. I'm still blown away.
I don't think it's sunk in yet. That like
it's not.
Next time I go on the UFC rankings, there's going to be a picture.
Oh my god! Tomorrow on Tuesday, that's when they update all the ranking stuff, and I think that's when they update the website. So tomorrow we might finally see Sean Strickland's face as the champ on the UFC rankings.
I wonder if Israel's thinking,
goodness,
fuck me, Sean Strickland's the middleweight champ. Do you think Izzy's thinking that?
Oh my god!
Because the rest of the middleweights must just be thinking, fuck me, this is great. This is like, you know, I don't. I mean, obviously we spoke about the fights that could be, but there's no one in that top 10 that don't think they can beat Sean Strickland for sure. Everybody must
Yeah.
just be thinking,
I
I can beat that guy.
I wonder if Dricus du Plessis is regretting not taking the fight because, all right, yeah, I think Sean Strickland, Dricus du Plessis made the right decision for him at the time because he was like, hang on, I've just beat Robert Whittaker. I need to recover. I can't fight in 6 weeks. That's crazy. And I agree with him. And I don't think it's fair for Dana White to come out and say things like, you know, I don't like guys turn down fights and all that. It's like,
He
mate,
weren't
you gave him
expecting
6
that
weeks.
Israel to turn
That's
up,
not
was he?
fair. But if he knew that Israel was turning up, I think he'd have gone, yeah, I'll go in there with a broken leg, mate. Let's go. Let's
Absolutely.
go. So yeah, man, I wonder if Dricus is absolutely kicking himself right now.
Yeah, because the way that it looks like it's going to pan out, probably going to make that title shot a little bit more elusive for him. Who knows?
It
Who
might
knows?
do. Who knows? Who knows? Well, look, this week coming up is I'll have to pull it up actually, but it is a UFC fight night with a difference because it's a UFC fight night where they are also showing, or there is a belt on the line. The rematch between Alexa Grasso and Valentina Shevchenko. I'm just pulling up the fight card now. But that's unique. A fight card with that. It's still kind of usual time. I believe it's in Vegas, but it's part of the Mexican Independence Day kind of celebratory card. Grasso versus Shevchenko. Kevin Holland versus Jack Della Maddalena, which, oh my God, that is going to be a great fight. I can't wait for that one. The return of Raul Rosas Jr. after his kind of probably overhyped little run he had, and now he's coming back. And then outside of that, I feel like there was another fight on this card I really wanted to see. Yes, there was, but it's been taken off. I believe it was Daniel Rodriguez versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. And I can't see that on this card anymore. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if someone's fallen out of that fight, which is a shame. And it is an extra shame because I really thought, you know, three fights on that card, that would have been really, really interesting that I really wanted to see. But just for the main and co-main event next week, Jack Della Maddalena versus Kevin Holland and the rematch between Shevchenko and Grasso. I was going to say to you, should we try and do a little prelude to this on a separate episode? But I'm not sure if I'm that as bothered now with just kind of two fights on there that I'm super interested in. Maybe do a mini episode because Grasso Shevchenko is a big, big fight. There's a belt on the line. And there'll be people waiting in the wings to see what happens with that fight, whether it be Manon Fiorot, whether it be Erin Blanchfield. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. Other than that, are we basically done?
I think so. Go check us out on YouTube if you haven't already. I presume some of you are watching now on YouTube, but if you just still listen to us on the podcast format, that's fine. But we will be doing some sort of big exciting stuff in probably about a month's time. There'll be some more sort of visual stuff that's going to look really, really good that should be coming your way. So we'll keep you posted on any developments with that. But what we should say is if you've missed the Bruce Buffer episode, then go and check it out because it's a really good watch over on YouTube. And as we've mentioned before, for all you long-time listeners, if it's your first time listening, hello and welcome. Thanks for listening to this podcast. You've missed loads, so go check out that back catalogue because it's vast now. I think 180 odd episodes. So go check them out because we've had a real who's who of mixed martial arts on there. So yeah, I think now we're done.
All right. See you later, guys.